We go. Welcome to Scott's Day Big Book Study, where we will study the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Today's date is the 15th of June 2024. My name is Maria F. and I'm a recovered compulsive overeater from County Dublin in Ireland, and I will be your host for today's study. Our co-hosts today are Johan N. and Carol O. If you have any questions during the meeting, please contact either myself or any of the co-hosts, and you can do this by private message in the chat function. Please note that the speaker, Harlan G, will be recorded for the duration of the study. However, the question and answer sessions which follows, that will not be recorded. We kindly ask if you can keep your microphone on mute at all times during today's study, and also please turn off your camera if you're exercising, eating, or if you need to step away from the screen for any reason. Please just disconnect your camera. Also, if not, please do keep your camera on, because it's lovely if we can see your faces. And if you're asking Harlan a question at the Q&A, we ask that you do keep your camera on for that too. During the meeting, we will post the link to our separate edition, and this money goes towards the cost of our Zoom account, the cost of uploading our recordings, and we also send contributions to our intergroup, to Arizona Serenity in the Desert, and to the World Service Organization. So we are now going to go over to Scottsdale in Arizona to say good morning to Harlan G. Good morning, Harlan.
Good morning. Thank you so much. Thank you. I am so glad to be here. I'm in Arlington Heights, Illinois at the library, which is just an amazing place. Just an amazing, amazing place. Anyway, we have been talking about we agnostics. And when we do get started, we're going to be on page 46. At the bottom of the page, it says, much to our relief. And that's the paragraph that we're going to start on, is page 46, much to our relief. I also, before I say another word, I want to thank everybody who made the transition between the old starting time and this. This is going to be big advantages for us, because we were really excluding people from the Central and Eastern time zones, because the meetings were starting at noon and 1 o'clock in the afternoon in the Central and Eastern time zone. And this will eventually give us an opportunity to build up more people in all time zones, because a Saturday morning meeting is much more easily attended than one that meets at noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon in the Central and the Eastern time zones, because people do have a lot of obligations during the day, and this gives them an opportunity to come here and then go meet their obligations. So this has been wonderful, and I want to thank each and every one of you for attending and for being flexible with this. So anyway, that said, we are talking about the chapter, We Agnostics. And this is the only chapter of the book that is completely dedicated to step 2. We have the history of step 2 in Bill's story. We have a lot of references to step 2 throughout the book, but this is the chapter that addresses the need for the spiritual awakening or spiritual experience, as the case may be. What is the difference? A spiritual experience is sudden and profound, very quick. A spiritual awakening is something that is slower to develop. I never had a spiritual experience. I've only had a spiritual awakening, and I've had many of them, but I have never had a spiritual experience like Bill Wilson had at the Towns Hospital in New York City, where God came to him very quickly, very suddenly, and very profoundly. So it was quite difficult for me to think that I had anything like that. I just never did. What is an agnostic, and what is the title of the chapter? It says we agnostics. It doesn't say you agnostics. It doesn't say to those agnostics. It doesn't say to those who are agnostic. We all have mostly pockets of agnosticism in our lives. What is an agnostic? An agnostic is someone, ag without, Gnostic, knowledge, without knowledge. An atheist An atheist believes that there is no religious deity, that there is no religious God, as it were, up in the sky with the gray beard, like that. A believer believes that there is a religious deity, or that a religious kind of deity. And an agnostic is just not quite sure. And many of us have in our lives pockets of agnosticism. I may be willing at first to give God my food. How do I do that? By working the steps. How do I do that? By calling and helping others. How do I do that? By confessing my powerlessness over to God, but by also making sure that I do not ingest any of the allergy producing foods. But by working the steps, that is the process of giving God this issue of the food, giving him all issues. But I may not be so likely to turn over my finances to God. I may not be so likely to turn over my romances to God. I may not be so likely to turn over my child to God. And these are areas, but we all have different areas. Some of us have different challenges than the rest of us. Some of us might be moving cross country. Some of us might be facing the illness of a relative. Someone may be facing various things that we face. So we have to turn in all things to the power of light who presides over us all. And what do we do when we do that? We take the next indicated action and we leave results up to God. We always take action. There's never a time in our program where we fail to take action. And how do we do that specifically? We work the steps. We take the next indicated action and we work the steps. But we give everything to God through our surrender process. We want to hang on to nothing. The more we hang on to, the worse my life bogs down. The less I hang on to, the better my life gets. I cannot have a good life while I'm hanging on to anything that I'm supposed to be giving to God. And how do I know what I'm supposed to give to God? I give God everything, everything. And in a perfect world, I would give God every single thing. I would take the next indicated action and I would just work the steps, do what I need to do for my job, do what I need to do to pay my bills, do what I need to do for life, but everything goes to God. The money, the romance, anything goes to God. Okay, let's go to the bottom of 46. And today we are going to, before I say another word, I want to backtrack for just another second. Last week, and this almost got past me. Last week, we visited the thesis line of the big book. And the thesis line of the big book is on page 45. And on page 45 of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, we read these words in the second paragraph. In the second paragraph, beginning with, well, that's exactly what this book is about. Now, the next sentence is the thesis line of the entire book. And it says, its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. Now, we hear this all the time in Overeaters Anonymous. Abstinence is the most important thing in my life without exception. Abstinence is the most important thing in my life without exception. Abstinence is, you get it. Abstinence is the most important thing. We've said it, we've heard it a million times. Is abstinence the most important thing in my life without exception? No. No. Am I abstinent? Yes. Now, when I went to college, and I shared this yesterday on the vision meeting, but I'm going to revisit it. When I went to college, I went to Roosevelt University downtown in Chicago. When I went to Roosevelt University, I had to take English 101 and English 102. They are prerequisites. And I don't care what major you endeavor at Roosevelt University, you are going to have to take English 101 and English 102. You cannot get a degree from Roosevelt University without taking English 101 and English 102. Cannot be done. They will not give you the degree. Cannot be done. Now, is English 101 and English 102 the most important subjects is that the object of going to college? No. They are what's called prerequisites. Before I left the house today, I brushed my teeth, I took a shower, I shaved, I put on pants and socks and shoes and a shirt and whatever. It's freezing in this library, so I took a sweatshirt. Are those the most important thing in my life without exception? No. But would I think of leaving the house without doing those things? Not unless there was a fire. Not unless there was a fire. When I leave the house, I've showered. Most of the time I've shaved. I have pants and a shirt and I have socks and I have shoes. These are requirements or prerequisites. Abstinence is the prerequisite to get your OA degree. Okay? The most important thing is to say its main object is to enable you to find a power capitalized greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. So what that means is we're going to be working on our relationship with God. Now, you may object to me using the word God. You may not be a believer. You may be an atheist. You may be an agnostic. All I'm referring to when I use the word God is a power greater than myself. That's all I'm referring to. I don't mean the God of Israel. I don't mean the God of the Catholics or the God of the Protestants or the God of the Muslims or the Buddhists or anything like that at all. I am not referring to a specific God of any particular religion. I am not here to judge what you believe. I am not here to define what you should believe. I am not here to suggest that you even should believe. But as we're going to see this morning, willingness to believe or a belief in a power greater than yourself is going to be essential for you to recover. For if you do not believe that there is a power greater than yourself, or be willing to believe that there is a power greater than yourself, you are going to struggle in your program of recovery. We're going to get to that this morning too. That's the guts of step 2. That is the guts of step 2. Very, very important. Okay, so what we're going to be working on for the rest of our lives. Yes, food plans change as we age, no doubt about it. I'm 70 years old. I know it seems weird for me to say that, let alone to hear myself say, I'm 70 years old. Mir, how did that happen? How in the world did 70 years go by and I'm A, still alive, and B, I'm in recovery, and C, to be honest with you, yeah, I have my aches and pains, and yes, I have my challenges, yes, but I'm going to let you in on a secret. I've never felt better. I've never looked better. I've never been better than I am today. And I can't get there by myself. I needed the help of a power greater than myself. And I bet you do too. So no matter where you are in your program, understand that abstinence is a prerequisite. You will not get recovery in this program without abstinence. It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. However, that is not the end result. And for the first few years that I was in this program, I was like a robot. Don't eat, go to meetings. Don't eat, go to meetings. Don't eat, go to meetings. And you know what I found out? I found out there's a lot more to this than don't eat, go to meetings. I found out that I'm a very scared person. And if you asked me how I was doing at any given time, I would tell you I'm scared to death. And you'd say, what are you scared of? And if I was totally honest with you, I'd say everything. And then I found out I'm a very selfish person. I'm very, very selfish. I want everybody to stick to my script. And then I found out that I'm a very dishonest person, that I would lie when the truth would serve me better. I found out that I'm a very self-seeking person. And I found out I'm a very angry person. I never thought of myself as angry because Almond Joy bars, Chips Ahoy cookies, Kit Kat bars, and the like, they tempered out my anger. They evened out my fear. They gave me peace in the middle of a storm. And I didn't realize that what I was doing was tantruming with a knife and a fork and pulling things out of bakery bags and things like that, chip bags and so on and so forth. I was pulling things out of these bags in an attempt to assuage my anger. And these are just some of the things. I found out that I had struggles with my past. I missed out on a lot of things in my life. I missed out on dating and passion and sex, and I missed out on a lot of opportunities in business. And I'm still working, and I'm angry about that a little bit. And I'm very fearful of dying before I have a chance to retire. And I have troubles with my daughter, and I'm divorced, and I have lots and lots of things that I didn't understand needed the attention of God because I can't handle them on my own. I don't know about you, but there's a whole mess of things I just can't handle, and I can't do it on my own. I need the help of God. And I came in here to lose weight. I didn't come in here to get right with myself, get right with God, and get right with my fellow human being. I'm going to say that again because it's important. I didn't come in here to get right with myself, right with God, and right with my fellow human being, but that's exactly what happened. I can walk the streets a free man. I don't owe anybody money. I didn't lie to anybody. I didn't write you a bad check. I didn't tell one person I'm a Republican because I want them to like me, and another person that I'm a Democrat because I want them to like me. I am who I am and what I am, and I don't have to engage in lying to you as an attempt at image management so that everybody will like me. I hope you like me. That's great if you do. And if you don't, that's okay too. The dogs bark, but the wagon train continues. The dogs bark, but the wagon train continues means life is going to go on whether you like me or you don't. Life is going to go on whether this team wins or that girl likes me or that business deal goes through. Life is going to go on. It's going to go on. So the main object of this book is to help you find a power, is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. And if it's the main object of this book, then it better well be the main object of my life. That's the point I'm trying to make. Abstinence is like the ramp that gets you on the highway. It's the ramp. You cannot get on the highway without the ramp. Once you're on the highway, you don't need the ramp. You're on the highway. And that means you're going to have to work the steps. And this means that your development of a relationship with a power greater than yourself, no matter what you choose to call it, no matter how you choose to worship it, no matter how you choose to recognize it, your relationship with that power greater than yourself will determine your success or failure. Again, abstinence is a ramp that gets you on the highway. Without it, you can't get on the highway. English 101 and English 102 are requirements. I don't know now. I haven't looked at it in 50 years. English 101 and English 102 are the requirements for my college degree. But was English 101 and English 102 the main object of what I was doing? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. So let's go to page 46. Let's go to page 46. Much to our relief, I'm at the bottom of 46. Much to our relief, we discovered we did not need to consider another's conception of God. Let's stop right there for just a second. Grandpa Wilson and Grandpa Griffith both had big effects on Bill Wilson. And Grandpa Griffith, who raised Bill, took him to church every Sunday. And he loved going to church, but he resisted the idea of the preacher's right to tell him how he must believe. Jimmy Burwell also was an atheist. And when he came into AA, he changed the face of AA because Dr. Bob was a very religious man. Dr. Bob was a very religious man, and Jimmy Burwell was an atheist. So how do you reconcile those things? Well, we do not have to consider another person's conception of God. I happen to be of my religion, of my birth. You may be of the religion of your birth, and they may be different. Can we sit in the same meeting and recover? Of course we can. You may have changed religion since you were born. Can we sit in the same meeting and recover? Yes. You may have said, I don't want any organized religion in my life. Can we sit in the same meeting and recover? And the answer is yes. You may be a person who has no religion in his life or her life. And can we sit in the same meeting and recover? And the answer is, of course, unequivocally, definitely, yes. Yes, we can. And we are, aren't we? So all that's required is you believe what you believe, and I'm not here to tell you what to believe. And we're not here to tell you what you should believe. No one can tell you what to believe. Okay, let's continue. Our own conception, however inadequate, was sufficient to make the approach and to effect a contact with him. No matter what you believe or don't believe, we must be willing to make the approach. And how do we make the approach? Through prayer and action. What kind of action? The working of the steps and then the teaching of these steps to the newcomer. You do that and you'll be just fine. Don't worry about anything else. Anything else is just noise. You just follow your path, but be willing to believe that there is a power greater than yourself. You can call it Mother Nature. If you're dyslexic, you can call it dog. Some people say doorknob. My first higher power was Lake Michigan. Now I'm in the Chicago area right now. Lake Michigan is huge, and if you're not familiar with it, it's not like the lake that you're maybe envisioning. You can't go across it in one little hunk. It's 197 miles long, and it's 100 miles wide, and it's hundreds of miles deep. It's one of the biggest lakes in the world. It's the only one of the Great Lakes that is completely within the borders of the United States. Lake Michigan is so big that it goes through Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan, where it gets its name. That's a lot of states to touch. That's a very large area. And it's still not as big as Lake Superior, which is the biggest of the Great Lakes. But that aside, the geography lesson aside, Lake Michigan was my first higher power. Lake Michigan is majestic, but it doesn't care who has a crush on me and who doesn't. It doesn't care how much money I have. It doesn't care. It's just Lake Michigan, and it just doesn't care. My higher power today does care. My higher power today cries when I cry and is just absolutely helping me at every turn. Okay, let's continue. We're at the bottom of 46. As soon as we admitted the possible existence of a creative intelligence, a spirit of the universe underlying the totality of things, we began to be possessed of a new sense of power and direction, provided we took other simple steps. Can you stop at step 2 and recover? No. No, you cannot. The symbol of Alcoholics Anonymous is not in the 4th edition of the Big Book because we lost the copyright to the 1st edition, so we can't put that symbol in the 4th edition. But if you look at the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd edition of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, you will find there's a triangle, an equilateral triangle. Recovery is on the bottom, fellowship and service. Fellowship, recovery, and service. What is around that triangle? It's a circle. And what is that circle reminiscent of? The circle is a symbol of perpetuity. It is a symbol of perpetuity. And I get this call every so often. People tell me, I worked the steps a number of years ago with my sponsor. If you refer to you worked the steps in the past tense, you haven't worked the steps. Because working the steps and having an understanding of what you're doing means you work these steps every day for the rest of your life. And when you pass this to other people, when you teach this to other people, you are working those steps. From time to time, I do 4 steps. Every single day, I do step 10. When you do 10, you're doing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12. I do step 11 every day. I do step 12 every day. I don't take days off from doing my program. You shouldn't either. This disease affects you every day. I'm quote unquote out of town. I'm not in Arizona. Does that mean that I tell my sponsees not to call me? Absolutely not. They call me. I've taken calls when I've had 2 knee replacements and 2 hip replacements. I took phone calls 15 minutes after I got to my room from recovery. And because I need those phone calls, I'm willing and able to take them. There's no reason on God's earth that you can't take a phone call or make a phone call. I hate hearing my sponsor's out of town, so I can't call her. My sponsor's out of town, so I can't call him. What a bunch of hogwash. Unless your sponsor is on Pluto or Mars, there's no reason that you can't call your sponsor. And any sponsor that says, don't call me, I'm going to be out of town, is not a sponsor that I would ever want for me. When my sponsor's out of town, I call every single day. I work these steps every single day. Let's continue. We found that God does not make too hard terms with those who seek him. Boy, I could do a whole weekend retreat in your town just on God does not make too hard terms with those who seek him. If you are having enormous trouble connecting with God, you're probably doing it wrong. And the right way to do it is to work your own steps and go help others. When I'm looking for God, I find him in the face of one of his children. I always find God in the face of one of his children. And when I look for him in the face of one of his children, not only do I find him very receptive to my need for him and my love for him and my desire to be closer to him. I find him in the face of one of his children. What does that mean? I go help somebody that needs help. How do I do that specifically? Make an outreach call. Make an outreach call. And if I make an outreach call, I'm going to find God in the face of one of his children. Let's continue. To us, the realm of the spirit, which is capitalized, is broad, roomy, all-inclusive, never exclusive or forbidding to those who earnestly seek. It is open, we believe, to all men, top of 47. That means I don't have to picture a God that has scarce resources. I don't have to picture a God that has limited amount of love or limited amount of attention or limited amount of anything. My God is big, roomy, powerful, loving, kind, and abundant. I don't have to be jealous because you have a beautiful lawn, or you have a beautiful car, or you have a beautiful wife, or you have a great kid, whatever. There is more than enough to go around. The world that we live in today is a world of abundance, but I could never see that in my disease, because if you had something, then it meant I couldn't have it. If you had something, that meant that I was getting screwed. And I don't have to live like that anymore. God and the world are magnificently abundant. That's a beautiful emancipator for me, because I see things as a scarcity, because my brain, my addled, diseased brain, sees everything as limited, and God sees everything as unlimited, buffet, smorgasbord, all you can consume. You want more love in your life? Give love to other people. You want more success in your life? Help other people achieve success. Whatever it is you pass on, you're going to get in abundance in the world of recovery. You want more recovery? Give recovery to somebody else. Are you sitting on the sidelines refusing to sponsor? You're not going to recover. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. If you don't sponsor, you're not working a 12-step program. You're working an 11-step program. And if you work an 11-step program, you're not going to recover. It's not going to happen. You want something, go give it to somebody else. That's the secret to this whole thing. Let's go to the top of 47. When therefore we speak to you of God, we mean your own conception of God. Notice how when something is important, Bill doesn't just put it in the book once. He spirals that information through the most pure form of teaching known to mankind. He repeats it. Repetition is the purest form of instruction. When we speak to you of God, we mean your own conception of God. This applies too to other spiritual expressions which you find in this book. Do not let any prejudice you may have against spiritual terms deter you from honestly asking yourself what they mean to you. What they mean to you, not what they mean to me, not what they mean to someone else, not what they mean to a theologian or a historian or whoever. You have to decide what they mean to you. Let's continue. At the start, this was all we needed to commence spiritual growth. Commence means to begin. God is going to take you to places you could never go before. And what's going to happen for you, if you're anything like me, is this. You're going to come to things, realizations about yourself, where you need God more and more, not less and less. How many of you have said, and how many of you have heard, I wanted to come in, get the food plan, and get the hell out of here? There's so much more to this than a food plan. You just want a food plan? Go to the Paying Ways. Go to any magazine. As you check out at the grocery store, there's going to be multitudes of magazines and publications with all kinds of diets. That's all you really need then. I need God to come into my life and purge me of me. I need him to purge me out of me. The more me that's in my life, the less God is in my life. And the less God is in my life, the more my life sucks. I need God to come and purge me out of me. I don't want me. I want God. Needed to commence spiritual growth to affect our first conscious relation with God as we understood him. Afterward, we found ourselves accepting many things which then seemed entirely out of reach. I accept the fact that there is a God. I accept the fact that I of myself cannot be successful. I have too addled a brain to be successful. I can't. I'm a product of Western culture. I don't care if you're from Ireland or Sweden or France or Canada, Mexico, Brazil. I don't care if you're from Addison, Illinois, or you're from Dublin, Georgia, or Dublin, Ireland. I don't care where you're from. You are a product, if you're listening to me, of Western culture. What does Western culture teach me? It teaches me the little engine that could. And The Little Engine That Could was a book that I read as a child in William Green Grammar School in Chicago, Illinois on Devon Avenue. And it says, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. And it goes up the hill and it pulls the train and he realizes that he can do anything he sets his mind to. What is the point of so much of our Western culture? It's to instill in you, whether you're boys or girls, doesn't matter. It's to instill in you self-sufficiency, self-reliance, self. We are products of Western culture. And to a great degree, that is fantastic. That is fantastic. However, I need help, and that's okay. You see, one of the things that hurts us is our inculcation into Western ideology. And in Western ideology, you are taught from the time you are children to admire self-made people, people who relied on no one. People who relied on no one were heroic to you. We are here and we are working against this inculcation. I am telling you, and have been for the last few weeks here, and I will continue telling you, that of yourself, there is no chance that you are going to recover. None, not one possible chance that you are going to recover. If you rely strictly on yourself, it won't happen. I must believe or be willing to believe that there is a power greater than myself. And when I was a little boy, I was taught self-sufficiency. Look, mommy, I did it all by myself, and you're rewarded for that. I remember I couldn't tie my shoes to save my life. The bunny goes here and the bunny goes there and it goes through this. I couldn't figure it out to save my life. I couldn't figure it out. And my mother was getting very frustrated with me. I can't tie my, she'd say, wait, I'll come tie them for you. And I knew sort of if I struggled long enough, she would come and tie them for me. And then we had spring vacation when I was in kindergarten or first grade. I think it was kindergarten. I'm not, could be kindergarten, could be first grade. I don't remember. My mom's not here to ask me. One day, it was the first day of school after spring break at Green Grammar School in Chicago. And I popped up. You couldn't wear gym shoes to school in those days. You had to wear leather shoes. No gym shoes, no blue jeans were allowed in school. Girls had to wear skirts or dresses, no pants. There was no dress code, but there were certain things you had to follow. all of a sudden I got it. I got it. I got how to do it. I got the shoe tying thing. I got it. And I've never forgotten it since. When it comes to tying my shoes, I'm okay. But how to buy those shoes, how to wear them and not walk into McDonald's, how to wear them and not walk into the bakery, how to wear them and not walk into the donut shop, how to wear them and not walk into the pizzeria, that's a different matter. That's a different matter. And because I am a compulsive overeater and because I'm human, I need God's help at every step of the way. So I've never taken a step in those shoes where I didn't need God's help, whether I was conscious of it or not. Okay, let's move on. We're in the middle of the first paragraph on 47. Afterward, we found ourselves accepting many things which then seemed entirely out of reach. That was growth. But if we wished to grow, we had to begin somewhere. How do I begin? I put the food down and I start moving through the steps. Okay? We had to begin somewhere. So we used our own conception, however limited it was. Now, this next 2 sentences is the guts of step 2. The first one being important to a 4, the second one being important to a 9 million. We needed to ask ourselves but one short question. Do I now believe, or am I willing to believe, that there is a power greater than myself? Power is capitalized. Once again, I'm going to be repetitive, because if I'm not repetitive, you may not know this information. And even if I am repetitive, the only way you're going to retain this information is to teach this information to other people. If you don't teach this information to other people, you are not going to retain that information, and that could kill you. Do you believe, or are you even willing to believe, that there is a power greater than yourself? Are you so bombastically egotistical that you can look in the face of a baby or a puppy or a kitty, or you can look at a sunrise or a sunset or the stars in the sky or the beauty of a lake or a river? Can you listen to beautiful music and think to yourself, you created this? Are you so egotistical that you can honestly look me in the face and say to me, you are the be-all and the end-all of earth? Are you so madly egotistical that you don't need any help? Because I'm assuming something, that every single thing you've done in your life from the moment you started thinking, I'd like to lose some weight, are you so madly egotistical that you can look me in the face and say, I can do this on my own? Well, if you could do this on your own, what are you doing here? Why did you come here this morning? What are you doing in OA? If you could do this on your own, go do it. You don't have to listen to my horse BS. You don't have to listen to my horse hockey. Go do it on your own. I'm assuming you tried and failed, tried and failed, tried and failed, ad nauseum. And as you tried and failed, you finally came in here. There's something about the ego of a human being where we have to try every wrong answer on the face of the earth before we come in and get the right answer. What the heck is that about us? I don't know myself, other than ego. How many times did I join the pay-in way? How many times did I just beg God for death and say, I'll never be thin. I'll never go on a date with a girl. I'll never get married. I'll never have a kid. I'll never be successful. I just want to die. How many times did I say that? If I'm betting the over or the under, I'll go over 10,000 times I said it. I need God's help. There was a song when I was a kid. It was by Spiral Staircase, little known rock group. And it was called, I love you more today than yesterday, but not as much as tomorrow. Guess what's going to happen to me today? Life is going to present itself, and life is going to take twists and turns that I'm not going to like. I'm in a relationship that's romantic with someone. I'm in relationships with friends. I'm in relationship with the world. I'm in relationships with money and all kinds of political things and all kinds of things. Sometimes it goes my way, and most of the time it doesn't. So for me and people like me, I need God's help. Do I now believe, or am I even willing to believe that there is a power greater than myself? I need to get off my high horse. You know, I was raised by a man who was a survivor of murder and mayhem in Europe. And his entire family was murdered as they were in their home. Murderers came in and killed them based on their religious beliefs. My father was one of 8 children. He was one of 2 children that died of natural causes. The rest were murdered. His grandparents on both sides, his nieces and nephews, ranging from 6 weeks old to 16 years old, were obliterated off the face of the earth and killed. He had a few problems with God. And when we would go to the synagogue, he would spit on the floor and he would say in Yiddish, "Where were you, God? Where were you, God?" And he would say to me every day of my life, it's going to happen again. It's just a question of when. They hate you. They will never stop hating you. They hate your guts and they'll blame you for everything. And they will kill you. And if they don't kill you, they'll kill your children. That's what they do. And I'm growing up in this. I'm growing up in this environment. This is my father talking, not some idiot. My dad is telling me this. And his life illustrated that this is true. Now you come in here and you say to me, or now I come in here, not you. I come in here and you say to me, you got to believe in God. And I'm going, wait a minute, what? I said, I just came in here to lose 500-600 pounds. No, I didn't come in to lose 600. I lost 500. Now, what are you talking about God for? What does God have to do with any of this? Oh, only everything. And one of the things that I had to do through working hard was to make peace with this idea of God. Because the idea of God that was presented to me was a God who let my people be massacred. The idea of God that I was presented with let people exist in chattel slavery for hundreds of years. My God, the God that was presented to me, watched the trail of tears. My God was the God who looked the other way when there were massive injustices. And I had to come to a conclusion that my perception of God was not going to carry me to the recovery that I desperately needed. And I had to take a different God into my heart. And that God is not a God of Calvinism. What is Calvinism? Now, you may be a Calvinist, and that's okay. Doesn't work for me. It may work for you. Calvinism is the idea that everything is preordained. I do not believe in such a thing. I believe God put human beings on this earth, and as human beings, we are given free reign. We can do good. We can do what is perceived as not good. We can do right, and we can do wrong. And my God, when people were chattel slaves and there was injustices in Northern Ireland or injustices in Europe or America or God knows where, he cried too. He wept too. But people have free reign, and they can often do horrible things. Horrible things. Sometimes they do those things in the name of God. How crazy is that? How nuts is that? But I can't let that stop me from recovering, because I'll be damned if those murderers that killed my grandmothers and my grandfathers and my nieces and nephews and my uncles and aunts, I'll be damned if they're going to kill one more Jew. I'm not letting them have me. I'm not going to my grave at 500 pounds with my heart exploding and ulcers on my legs. I'm not letting them kill one more Jew. I won't do it. I refuse to do it. I'm going to live right up to the minute I die. You can bet your life that I am going to rip whatever life is. If I have one more day or 10 more years, I'm 70 years old. Who the hell knows? I'm not going to let them rip life out of my hands. I won't do it. I've worked too hard. I've worked too hard. You think this was easy? You think I just woke up one day and all of a sudden 103 people would be on the line listening to me about anything I would have to say about recovery? That took a long time. I've been in these rooms 45 flipping years. 45 years. I got 25 years of abstinence. I've been in these rooms almost half a century. I came in when I was 24 and I'm 70. I'm not doing it. Screw those guys. You want to hate my people? You go right ahead. I'm not going to die because of it. You want to hate the Catholics? You want to hate the Protestants? You want to hate African Americans? You want to hate anybody you want to hate? Native Americans? You go right ahead and hate, buddy. I ain't dying because of it. I don't have to hate them. I don't have to hate anybody, and I'm not going to. Don't let them take you out because of the injustices of the past. Screw Hitler. Screw the slave traders. Screw all these people. Recover right in their face. Right in their face, recover. Don't you let them take you with them. Change your perception of God. Change it. You have the power to change it. Your dad might have been a bastard. Your mother might have been a drunk. I don't know. I wasn't there. Let it go. Live. Live until you die. Don't die. Don't die because of it. It's not worth it. Let's finish this paragraph. As soon as a man can say that he does, and by the way, when we go to questions and answers, let's not have questions and answers about history and all that. Let's not do that, okay? Let's not do that. It's not worth it. I'm using it to illustrate a point. I hope that point wasn't lost. I'm using this to say to you, I don't care what happened. I mean, I do care, but I don't. No matter what happened, geez, I'm going to break this watch yet. No matter what happened, you got to live. This is the one, you don't get to come back again. This is the one life you have. Let's finish this paragraph. As soon as a man can say that he does believe or is willing to believe, we emphatically assure him that he is on his way. It has been repeatedly proven among us that upon this simple cornerstone, a wonderfully effective spiritual structure can be built. Step 2 is a step I work on every day of my life because I want to deepen and enhance my relationship with God Almighty. And how do I do that? Through work and self-sacrifice for others. And if I do that, I have done everything that I can possibly do to grow in this program. And if I'm growing in this program, then that means that I'm going to need God more today than yesterday, but not as much as tomorrow. And I'm going to have a situation where I am going to have to work with people. I am going to have to pray. I am going to have to do what I have to do. And that is what is important to me. Next week, we're going to start on page 47. That was great news to us, but let me put this in my phone first, and I'm not quite sure what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm going to delete this event that I did, and I'm going to add on the 22nd. Before we go to questions